Hey guys, welcome to another episode of Plant Fanatics. Today we're going to be growing coffee from seeds, so stay tuned. So I want to clarify with you guys that this is purely an experiment. We're not growing with fresh coffee beans. I didn't source any sort of special coffee. This is simply green coffee that you can buy from any online source, which is supposed to be used for home roasting. When you have a roaster at home, you can roast it yourself. That's what I always did. So I had some of this Ethiopian coffee Arabica, sitting around in one of my cabinets. I found it. It's been months and months, and apparently seeds are not supposed to be viable for more than 6 months. After 6 months, the viability goes way down. So I found these seeds, and me being who I am, kind of crazy with plants, I just love growing things from seeds, I decided to give it a go. So after a little bit of research, I found out that if you soak the seeds for 24 hours, there's going to be a little white stalk. I'll show you some footage that I took showing the difference between a soaked seed for 24 hours that grew a stalk and a soaked seed for 24 hours that did not. And what we want is those beans that grew that little white stalk after 24 hours, and then we want to separate all of those seeds from the ones that didn't get the stalk. We don't want to use those. Supposedly they're not viable, so if we soak these seeds and we see something happen, that little white stalk coming out is showing that there is somewhat of viability in those seeds. Those are the ones that we want to give a shot. They showed that they have some life in them. Whether or not this is going to be enough life to actually sprout into a coffee tree, I don't know. That's what we're here to find out. So, after we soak the seeds for 24 hours, we separate those seeds out. It all comes down to how are we going to try to germinate these. I've told you guys in past videos that in order to germinate a seed, for the most part, you typically need warmth, moisture, and a soil medium. We're going to try to do this in two different ways. I usually grow pawpaw seeds. If you saw in my other video, I'll link it in the description below, about how I germinated pawpaw seeds. Typically, we germinate pawpaw seeds by just sticking them into the soil and waiting for them to pop up. Well, I tried the paper towel method, and all the paper towel method is simply wetting a paper towel, getting it a little bit moist, and then putting those seeds in there, putting them in a Ziploc bag, and then waiting for them to germinate. We found out that with pawpaw seeds, we had way higher success with the pawpaws like that. So I'm going to try the same thing with these coffee seeds. My research showed that you're supposed to put these beans in vermiculite, which is almost like it's a sand-like mixture. It's supposed to have better drainage, supposed to not allow those coffee beans to get too much water. I've tried that in the past. I was not impressed with the success rate of doing that. I don't see why you couldn't put them in some regular soil and wait for them to try to come up, so we're going to do it that way. And then we're also going to try the paper towel method with these. Now, when we put these in a paper towel and we stick them into a cabinet, usually I end up forgetting about it. I say I'm going to check them every week. It never ends up happening. I forget about the seeds. That's what happened with the pawpaw seeds, and they had insane growth. But we are going to want to keep an eye on these seeds. We could be looking at up to a 6-month waiting period for anything to really happen with these seeds, for them to get the little roots out and start sprouting. So we are going to want to check these seeds pretty often just to make sure there's no mold growing. I'm thinking that the paper towel method could have a good success rate purely because it's easy to moderate how much moisture is going to be touching those seeds constantly. It's a little harder to do that with a soil medium, which is why they say use vermiculite. It's supposed to be more even distribution of the water, the moisture. Like I said, I don't like that. I don't see why it couldn't work with some regular potting mix, but we're going to give it a try, so follow along. If you have any green coffee beans, if you want to order some, just follow along with this video. We'll all do it together. So typically, I would use just a normal planting pot to put these seeds in. However, I want to control things a little better than that, so I'm actually going to be using just one of these little strawberry containers that you usually get when you buy strawberries at the store. And you might be thinking, wow, Chad, you're really going cheap this time. Well, actually, these things work extremely well for me. They have great drainage holes all around the bottom here. And then it has, nice aeration going on at the top. It's going to keep things from molding, keep that soil from molding. And it also holds just enough moisture. So it's going to allow, some moisture to kind of evaporate into the air, but it's also going to keep some of that moisture in there. It's kind of a happy medium. So I actually love using these things. I always keep them, and I use them often. And all I'm going to do is actually just fill this container up with soil. And I'm going to get it decently deep because when those roots sprout, I want to give them somewhere to go. Maybe just a little bit more. There we go. So when we're putting these coffee seeds in here, we're going to want to be pretty careful not to break off that little white stalk. I'm honestly not sure if that's a root. If one of you guys knows what exactly that is, let us all know. I'd be interested to know. But I'm just going to go ahead and lightly set those in there. And I'm going to put them pretty close. I don't expect that all of these are going to germinate, but I've been surprised before. So go ahead and get all of those in there. Then all we're going to do, now that we have those seeds in there, is just lightly cover those, maybe 1/2 inch to 1 inch. And now we're just going to water those in. Close this up. And that's all there is to it. Just going to shove it over here on the shelf. Let it get some warmth in here, and I'll keep you guys up to date on this. So now we're back inside. I told you guys we were going to do this coffee 2 different ways, in the soil and using the paper towel method. I'm a huge believer in the paper towel method at this point just because it's worked for so many different seeds. Why not try it with this coffee? All we need is paper towels, paper towel method. And we're just going to get that wet like that and then wring it out a bit. We don't want it to be super wet. We just want it to be moist, enough to give those seeds the moisture they need in order to sprout, but not so wet that we're actually rotting the seeds over time. Right here I have a second batch of coffee seeds that I did to do in this second round. Again, you're only going to want to pick out all of the seeds that have the little white stem coming out of them. So I'm going to go ahead and do that, probably fast forward through this part. Let's go. All right, so now that we pulled those seeds out, just remember I'm using green coffee that I've had in here for months. After 6 months, the viability is supposed to go way down. However, there's some movement on these seeds. They popped out those little white stems, so we didn't end up with very many out of this entire thing of green coffee here. We only ended up with, a few seeds, maybe 10 seeds. Now all we need is a bag writing what the seeds are, the date that we started them, so that way we know, if it takes a year, it's probably not going to happen. It's just a way of keeping track with that. The more you can keep track of, the better. And we're just going to take this moist paper towel with the seeds, fold it over like that, and then take that, put it in this bag, push that air out, seal it up well, and voila, just like that, we're all done. Just going to put this in a dark, warm area. I usually keep it in my laundry room. And with seeds like this, you're probably going to want to keep a closer eye for mold because we could potentially be looking at a 6-month rooting process. It's just a fun little project for us to do. There's not a whole lot of information on it out there. Most of the videos that I've seen from my research have just showed how to grow it from the fresh coffee berries, but it can be difficult to come across those fresh coffee berries. So I'm just trying it with green coffee that anybody can get. It's for roasting yourself at home. So put this in there, watch for mold. If you get mold, wash the seeds off a little bit, get a new paper towel. You could get a new bag. Just write the original start date on there and then get them back in that spot. It's very important to keep an eye on your seeds as you're doing this. Doesn't matter what the seeds are, but if it's seeds that we know are probably going to sprout, the lemon seeds, the mango seeds, now we know the pawpaw seeds, we knew that those were probably going to have a good viability rate. These, however, may not, so keep an eye on them more than you would those other seeds. I always forget about my seeds. Not this time. Going to do it. So if you guys want to try this, get your green coffee beans, do what I've showed you so far, and follow along with me. We'll all do it together. If you have any questions for me, leave them in the comments section below. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Give this video a like, and share with anybody that might be interested in growing coffee. Thanks so much for watching the video, guys.